Welcome along. I'm going to spend the next few minutes taking a little bit of a closer look at the newly released data sources capability for Nintex Workflow Cloud. I'm going to focus on the forms data lookup control, but binding that to an extension that's been built. We'll cover some of the other topics in a little bit of detail, and I'll point to where you can find more information. So let's have a quick look at what the data sources capability and data lookup control is by looking at the release notes up on community. So we launched that this week, and it is the ability to allow a forms designer to bind data to drop down in a form. So the ones that we've sort of seen demoed thus far are the native capabilities, SharePoint lists, Azure Active Directory lookup, so the ability to bind those to the control, but you can also bind an extension. Therefore, an OpenAPI reference has been added to Workflow Cloud to that control. So we'll have a quick look at how that can be achieved. So in extensions, when you're in Workflow Cloud, gives you the ability to import and configure an OpenAPI specification or a Swagger definition, if you like, in old money. And that is covered at pretty good length in the extensions documentation up on help.nintex.com. So if you do need a little bit more help explaining what it is, there's a nice quick start capability as well. It's all covered at help.nintex.com, so I won't drill into that too much here. Now, you're going to be able to grab some development and test and maybe even important connections through the gallery. Up on gallery.nintex.com. I have pre-built connections there already. And the one I'm going to use for this is Xe.com, so the online currency conversion website that we should probably know. You can just simply grab the connector. That's going to download a zip for you. So first thing I want to do is register with Xe. You need to register an account, so you get some credentials, you get an account ID, you get an API key, and so on. And you'll find that that's quite commonplace with most extensions that you want to build, particularly to public-facing websites. So we'll add the connector. So we'll just choose the file. It's been downloaded, so we'll just import that extension, the .json, basic auth. We'll give it, we'll leave the name and the description satisfactory, and we'll add the image. That's if you are dragging and dropping that in as a workflow action that you might want to use as well, which is outlined in the download as a use case. So let's just publish. So I've got my definition in there. Next thing I need to do is just connect to that. So we'll go into connections, and we'll add a new connector to Xe.com. Apologies for my messy demo environment. And for Xe in particular, the ID and the account API key are what we use as username and password. So let's just go with a connection name. This is a trial account. It's going to run out fairly soon for me, but if I'm interested, I can procure an API package from Xe and connect. Okay, so I've got my connection in. Now if I was to open up a workflow, that'd be cool. I could use the drag and drop workflow actions as part of a bigger workflow, but I'm more interested in using this in data sources. So I'm going to add a connection to Xe as a data source, add new. So give my data source a name. Maybe just give that the same name as the description. My connector is the one I've literally just created to Xe.com. And then I've got a list of operations. So these are all the things I'm actually going to be able to pull back in forms using that data lookup control. So account information, which is going to presumably correspond to my Xe account, a list of available currencies, daily historic rate. So you might actually want to create data sources for several of these, and then you can buddy them up. What I'm going to do is just a list of available currencies for now. And I'm going to choose that connection that I just created. Just give it a second. And save. So my Xe for demo data source should now be ready when I go to build a form. Open up the canvas, select my start event, which is going to be a form. We can have a quick look at the Xe workflow actions as well if we want to. So here's all those different workflow actions that are now available to me as part of that lovely extensions capability. I'm going to choose a form. The nice thing about data sources is if you're binding them, either you can bind them to an authenticated form, which is going to leverage the Azure AD federated tenancy that I've got here, or a public anonymous form. So I'm throwing this up on an extranet or a website. I can actually use it as public anonymous. So let's design. I'm not going to play around with anything too much. I just want to get the data source data lookup control in here. Now, because I'm pulling back a list of currencies, it helps if I spell it. I'm going to configure the data source. That was my Xe for demo. And finally, my option label and my option value. So what am I pulling back in from Xe? Let's go with currency name, make it required, so on and so forth. All I need to do is just quickly preview. And I've now got my list of currencies. And I can type ahead and select the currency. Cool. So that's how we can use the data sources capability that's recently been added to Nintex Workflow Cloud with an OpenAPI specification built extension and leveraging the data lookup control. Nice and easy. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you.